As some of you may be aware that there is a theory going around about Jar Jar Binks being a Sith Lord and the true evil of Star Wars, thus retroactively trying to justify the character's existence and make the prequels make more sense. Alfred, like Jar Jar, was an original character by the producers and feel out of place in both respected worlds. Well, I have a similar theory about a certain character from The Hobbit, and that character is Alfrid Lickspittle, aka Stephen Fry, second in command, as I try and prove that he was not evil but the main misunderstood factor of the entire setup from The Hobbit and thus Lord of the Rings and Middle-earth in general. Warning: Alfred dies in the end. Alfred, through his own greed, had told Gandalf while on Wizard's holiday in Lake Town before the events of Hobbit, told Gandalf that the dragon must be removed from the Lonely Mountain because he feels it will be key position for Sauron in a great war of Middle-earth. Luckily Alfred told a lucky guess, but really he wanted the gold for himself, but to Gandalf because the master of the Lake Town had too much pride and did not trust wizards. Alfred, always a good listener, knew about the ongoing details of Middle-earth through the Lake Town master. So Gandalf tells Thorin and Bilbo that it was his own idea to do so, only to save the embarrassment of taking advice from a lackey. During the desolation of Smaug, when the bardman, the guy who shoots the dragon, meets Alfred, the actor acts the scene so poorly I am convinced he knew the dwarves were in the barrel but had to send out the security team because he feared the bardman would not let the dwarves to complete the mission of recapturing the Lonely Mountain and had to create suspicion of dwarves around Lake Town so to not make it look like collusion. Only Alfred was loyal and brave enough to be Stephen Fry's assistant for the sake of the greater good to ensure the gold be free throughout the kingdom, and Alfred often gave Stephen Fry alcohol so he can run the bureaucracy and government, but siletenly without causing uproars which would have further hurt the fragile Lake Town economy and community. By this time Alfred had become even more gold-sick because smelling the dwarves drenched in mounting gold clothing had only increased his dragon sickness, and so convinced the entire town that letting the dwarves fight the dragon was a good idea, and even had to resort to force because Alfred alone knew how important the mission was. The gold sickness had made Alfred misjudge the risk-reward of letting the dwarves awake the dragon, and so he had to suffer the horrors of watching Lake Town burn. In the Battle of Five Armies he was shown as cowardly and greedy, but this is not true, as Alfred knew through the power of friendship the forces overcome all challenges, but he himself had to take all the gold so to become rich and wealthy enough to learn more about military strategy for when Sauron would truly return in Fellowship of the Ring, where he would have become a senior leader of Lake Town against the forces of Sauron. His sad demise happened when trying to save Gandalf through an elaborate setup, much like Jar Jar escaping bullets in The Phantom Menace, as can be seen by his death scene. You see a look of accepting fate on his eyes, that even though he failed to survive to see the long-term plans, but he saved his best mate Gandalf when most needed, and not even Froddo or Bilbo or even Legolas or Aragorn has achieved saving Gandalf and thus saving the world in the Lord of the Rings trilogy. While I do not agree with everything in the Hobbit prequels done by Peter Jackson, I think the adding of Alfred as a shrewd manipulator behind the scenes and doing slapstick to fool people was a genius move by Peter Jackson, and may Alfred rest in peace, thy sweet prince.